Hey everybody, this is OTPG coming to you with a little more information about our Hyperdrive series from our 4 shops you see on the screen there: Myrtle Beach Games, Grand Line Games, Final Round Game Shop, and Zenergy Gamers, all throwing on 4 events that are connected. We're going to have a lot of fun with a seasonal player board and the rewards that go along with it. So stay tuned for a little more information about that. What we're really here to talk about is the article that was dropped, holiday drop style, from Tyler Parrott, the senior game designer for Fantasy Flight Games. He's been with them for about 6 years now. He started with the Lord of the Rings game design. He has been a part of the design for the first 4 sets of Star Wars Unlimited, which makes this next set for the last one that he had a strong part in. I'm sure he probably is playing a hand in set 5 and 6 as well. But he brings us some information and a little article that he has given us just a couple of, like yesterday or the day before, kind of holiday sneak peek, the teasers from Hyperspace. And it talks about, how he's bringing back some more teasers like he did with the Twilight of the Republic. He speaks a little bit about the mechanics like the indirect damage and the piloting that have already been kind of teased out to us. I see the indirect damage as almost like thematically, like there's a space battle going on in orbit around a planet and all the debris that's falling down and you just can't avoid it. It's going to hit you, that kind of thing. It kind of plays in my mind like that. He goes in to talk about vehicles and space units and restrictions and balancing it accordingly. But some other takeaways, some talk about some modifications. We get some really cool artwork for some of the cards. Talks a little bit more about the subtitles to cards. And some of these subtitles are pretty interesting. I really like the, where is it here? It was, Are You Still With Me? Kind of makes me feel like it's a card that is bringing something back, maybe a form of reanimation or saving a card that may have gone out of play. I like the dropping the hammer. That's going to be funny. And then I'm looking at that no terms, no surrender. I feel aggression is going to be tied to that card. I'll definitely probably be wrong on that, but it just looks like one of those cards that we kind of have like out of cunning where, you can win in that turn or maybe you die because of it. Goes on with some more art here. Really cool stuff. Got some pondering the options going on there. One other thing is there's going to be some trait supports that are with this set. We'll talk more about that in the little recap I have. Then there's some more trivia-based things in here. And then they give some additional wording that might be on cards. And there's some cool ones here. The word mulligan being on a card seems really interesting. If that's on a card that is viable in play, and it reads something along the lines of, if this card's in your hand, you may exile it and take a free mulligan. That would be a cool mechanic to add to the Premier format. It'd be really interesting to see that happen. I know our mulligan system is a little tight right now. There's also ready them, which implies more than one, right? So you could be readying a whole bunch of units. It could say ready, if you control any space units, ready them. For each ground unit you control, ready them. And so that could be very interesting to see how that card works out. And then the different name. That could go in so many different directions. Like if you control 3 units with a different name, that could be, there could be a bonus added by some other card coming into play. If you have 4 or more cards in your graveyard with different, or discard pile with different names, with a different name, I keep saying names, but it does say name. So keep that in mind. It just kind of makes my mind wander a little bit about all the different ways they could go with that. Some more beautiful art here. And then some other things that go back into Spectres. There's this unit can't attack. That makes me feel kind of like a Frozen and Carbonite card might be there. When you deploy a leader is going to be a thing again. And so I definitely think the first unit you play each round costs 2 less. Could be a broken mechanic. So we'll see what that looks like. But take a look at the article. It's a quick read, and it has some really cool art. I got a feeling this is going to be one of our biggest ships that they're going to be debuting in the spoiler season. And then, he just kind of wraps it up with a little thank you and everything and some additional art there. Really cool little article. But before we get to my takes from the Teasers from Hyperspace article dropped by Tyler Parrott, I want to talk a little bit more about the Hyperdrive Season 1 through the Planetary Qualifier event dates. First, January 19th at Myrtle Beach Games. This will be the Hyperdrive Season 1 through the Planetary Qualifiers launch event. And you don't want to miss this, because this is where you start to earn your Iron Man Award. Iron Man Award is given to any player that makes all 4 events, and it is worth as much as a second place finish in any one of our 4 events when it comes to our seasonal player board and the seasonal player board rewards. It's a little something extra. It is not part of the event prizes. This is an additional set of rewards that are given to players just for being a part of the events. Then, on February 9th at Grand Line Games is when we are going to give out the first set of rewards based on that seasonal player board. We'll have 2 tiers. Tier 1 is going to be whatever player is in first place after the first 2 events. They will get a pick of our Tier 1 prizes. Then, in the event, we will announce a minimum number of points that are required to qualify for Tier 2 rewards. Those players that meet that minimum number of required points and didn't make Tier 1 will be pulled together, and we will randomly select players to give out additional rewards and goodies. Next, on March 2nd, we go to the final round game shop. And here we will continue the seasonal player board rewards, but Tier 1 will have 2 players, whoever's in first and second place. Tier 2, same thing. We will have a minimum number of points that are announced at the event. If you qualify with those points by the end of that event and you didn't make it into Tier 1, you're pulled together. We do a randomization and we hand out some additional rewards and goodies. But in addition to those 2 tiers, we're introducing a 3rd tier, the Nerf Herder tier. The Nerf Herders are going to be anybody who didn't make Tier 1 and Tier 2. We're going to have some prizes that we can randomly give out to that pool of players too. Finally, March 23rd at Xenergy Gamers is going to be the Hyperdrive Season 1 through the Planetary Qualifier Premiere Finale. This is where we're going to, at the end of the event, have a full seasonal player board standings, including the awarding of all the Iron Man points for those that made it to all 4 events. And that's going to make some things jump around. Players are going to leap over. You might even see our competitive players jump over each other just based off of those Iron Man points. Again, Tier 1, this time there'll be 3 players, the top 3 players in our standings. We'll have Tier 1 rewards that they can pick from. Our Tier 2, there'll be a minimum requirement of points that will be announced at the event, just like the previous events. And we will pull those players together and randomly select players for additional rewards and goodies. And we'll also have that Nerf Herder tier where players that didn't make Tier 1 and Tier 2 can still have something that they can earn as a reward for being a part of our events. Now, with that said, let's get into my takes from the Star Wars Unlimited, Teasers from Hyperspace, Jump to Lightspeed holiday article drop from Tyler Parrott. In this article, my takeaways start with, it's all about space. He mentions the most space units of any set in print. That means cards like Triple Dark Raid should be on your radar. They could be just absolutely busted when we have all these additional space units put into the game. Next is the first ground unit that can attack a space unit. That's something that people have asked about, and we haven't had that before. And after set 4, we're no longer going to be able to say that. We're going to have a ground unit that can attack space. In addition, I guess, to Poe Dameron. I mean, that technically can attack space. Then there's also supposed to be 2 unique units with different subtitles, is what I'm understanding it to be. They said different names, but this is going to be kind of like a deck list alert. Make sure that when you're writing down your units, if there are 2 unique units with the same main name but different subtitles, you need to be specific to the subtitle of the card, or you could run the risk of having your deck check and getting a game loss based off of that ambiguousness of the card that could be present in this set 4. The next thing they let us know in the article, this set has 2 of the largest units printed yet, and they're tied, is what they said. So there's going to be 2 units that are bigger than any other unit that's been out there, and they're both the same size. So I'm kind of thinking parity-wise, it's probably Heroic and Villainy getting one of these, but they did say units and not space units. So we could see a mix of maybe a ground unit and a space unit, maybe it's 2 ground units, maybe it's both space units. We don't know until we get to that spoiler season, and we'll be able to take a look at that. Next thing is that there is a card modifier theme and a trait support aspect to the Jump to Light Speed set. They announced that there's twice as many modification upgrade cards than all 3 sets in print combined, which when you think about the pilot aspect and how when you pilot, you turn that unit into an upgrade, that makes sense. It goes with that. Also, there's more trait support cards than any other set. So we're going to be looking at trait support cards that could possibly be traits for Rebels, Spectres, Separatists. The list goes on, but we're going to see some more support for specific traits on cards. And then the last takeaway that I had from this article was one line they put in about an aggression card that ramps resources permanently. And this could be interesting because we already have an event in command that's resupply. You just put it into your resource pile. And we also have a unit with the Super Laser Technician in Command Villainy. But if we now have an aggression card, just imagine like a open fire where you're doing 4 points of damage or some number of points of damage to a unit, and then you put it in your resource pile. And that could be a very interesting take. It's in aggression. I like the idea of it being an event where it does some damage and goes into your resource pile. But we're going to see what happens when they roll that out. That's a very interesting idea, and it gives the ability to ramp to another color, or another aspect, I should say. So all very cool things to think about as we move forward into the approach to the spoilers and looking at what comes out in the Jump to Light Speed set. So with that said, again, our Hyperdrive Season 1 event dates, check them out. Make sure you get to each one of those events. Merry Christmas, everybody, and good night.